had been invisible for 8 months. That is the truth of working in the Valerius estate. You learn to move through the ancient halls like a draft, present but unperceived. My hands, chapped and sore, polish onyx surfaces that reflect the gas lamps I am not allowed to look at directly. I am a day servant, and the cardinal rule of this house is to be gone before the sun dips below the moss-draped oaks. Lord Cassian Valerius, the master of the estate, is not a man. He is a rumor, a phantom, a whisper of power that holds the city of New Orleans in its velvet-gloved hand. The staff, all human, all bound by debts or fear, speak of him in hushed tones. We are the day shift, tasked with maintaining the illusion of life in a house that only truly wakes at night. We clean up after meetings we never see, polishing away the scent of ozone and spilled wine, and we never, ever ask questions. The mansion itself is an oppressive masterpiece in the Garden District, a Gothic anomaly of dark stone and wrought iron that seems to suck the color from the air around it. It is a fortress of shadow in a city of vibrant life. I have never seen the master. In 8 months, I have caught only a glimpse of a silhouette in a high window, a figure of impossible stillness watching the dusk. That was enough to chill my blood. My job is to disappear. The only warmth in my carefully regimented life is my sister, Sarah. She is 22, working in the vast, cold kitchens, and she still possesses a laugh that hasn't been smothered by this place. She prepares cold suppers that are left for the night staff we are forbidden to meet. Every evening, just as the sky begins to bruise with purple, we hurry from the service entrance and ride the St. Charles streetcar back to our cramped apartment in the French Quarter. 2 bedrooms, peeling wallpaper, and the constant thrum of jazz from the street below. It is ours. Barely. I take every extra shift. I need every dollar. Because $53,000 in medical debt does not vanish on its own. Because our mother died 3 years ago from an illness that devoured our savings and her body with equal ferocity. The bills, bearing interest rates that should be criminal, continued to arrive long after her funeral. So I polish, I scrub, I dust, and I stay invisible. This evening, the air is thick, that heavy, wet blanket of New Orleans humidity that promises rain. The grandfather clock in the main hall chimes 5, the sound echoing with a dreadful finality. It is time to go. You heading out, Ilara? Sarah finds me by the service door, wiping her hands on her apron. Yeah, long day. She studies my face. You look thin. Listen, she says, her face brightening slightly. Mark is picking me up tonight. His roommate fixed his car. He's taking me out for beignets. You want to come? I force a smile. No, you two have fun. I'm just going to go home and soak my feet. You sure? It's dark. It's just 5 blocks to the streetcar, Sarah. I've walked it 100 times. Go. Have fun. She kisses my cheek. Okay. Be safe. See you tonight. I watch her run back toward the kitchens, a flash of life in this house of shadow. Then, I pull my thin cardigan tighter and step out the service door. The grounds of the estate are silent. The sun is a dying ember, painting the sky in shades of blood orange and violet. The air is suddenly cold, the temperature dropping 10 degrees as the estate's true nature asserts itself. I walk quickly, my sneakers crunching on the gravel path, heading for the iron gate. The street is quieter than usual. The gas lamps are just beginning to flicker on. 3 blocks down, 2 to go. The alley appears on my left, a narrow slash of darkness between 2 towering Victorians. I've passed it every night. But tonight, 2 figures step out, blocking the sidewalk. I stop, My heart seizes. "Evening, little mouse," one of them says. He's tall, with greasy hair and a leather jacket. His eyes are wrong. They seem to catch the dim light and hold it. His companion is broader, silent, and cracks his knuckles. "Excuse me," I manage, moving to step around them onto the street. The first one shifts, blocking me again. "In a hurry? Where are you coming from?" He smiles, and I see his canines are just a little too long, a little too sharp. Not human. My stomach plummets. I don't want any trouble." "No trouble," he purrs. He sniffs the air. "You smell clean and afraid, but underneath, you smell like him." He steps closer, and his eyes land on the collar of my uniform, where the estate's crest is discreetly embroidered. A silver raven clutching a key. "Well, well," he hisses, recognition dawning. "Look what we have here! A little warm-blood pet. You work for Valerius, don't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I whisper, my blood turning to ice. "Don't lie." He grabs my collar, yanking me forward. The fabric rips. The Raven King. Thinks he owns this city. Thinks he can hunt where he likes while the rest of us starve. He looks at his companion. "She works for the bloodsucker." "I'm just a cleaner," I say desperately. "I'm just staff. I don't know anything. Please." "Just a cleaner," the first one laughs, an ugly, grating sound. "Well, just a cleaner. You're going to deliver a message for us." The first blow comes from nowhere, a backhand across my face that sends me staggering. Pain explodes, white-hot, behind my eye. Before I can scream, the second man grabs me, his fingers digging into my arms like steel vices. A palm clamps over my mouth, smelling of copper and dirt. "This is what happens," the first one says, leaning in so close I can feel his dead cold breath. "When people think they own our streets, this is from the shattered fangs. You tell your master his reign is over. His weakness for hiring cattle will be his undoing." The first kick connects with my ribs, then another, and another. I stop counting. I curl inward, the world dissolving into a vortex of pain. Someone grabs my hair, yanks my head back. I see the first man's fist, his teeth bared in a snarl, and then everything goes black. I don't know how long I was out. When I wake, I'm on the cold, damp pavement. The promised rain has started, a miserable drizzle. Every breath is a knife in my side. My left eye won't open. The metallic taste of blood floods my mouth. They are gone, vanished. I push myself to a sitting position, biting back a sob as my ribs scream. My clothes are torn. Through my one good eye, I can see the distant light of the streetcar stop. Get up. Move. Get home. I don't remember the ride. I remember faces turning away, people deliberately not looking at me. I remember climbing the stairs to our apartment, each step a mountain of agony. Our bathroom mirror tells the story my body already knows. My left eye is swollen shut, a grotesque shade of purple and black. My bottom lip is split wide open. When I lift my shirt, a horrifying mosaic of bruises is already blooming along my ribs. And on my arms, perfect, deep purple imprints of fingers. I turn on the shower and just sit on the tile floor, fully clothed, as steam fills the room. Only then do I cry. Silent, ragged sobs. The door creaks open. Sarah. She stands in the doorway, her hand flying to her mouth. Ilara. Oh my God. Ilara! I'm okay. You're bleeding. We have to go to the hospital. Now. No, I choke out. The word tearing my split lip. No, Sarah, I can't afford it. I can't. I can't afford the ER. I can't. She crouches beside me, her hands hovering, terrified to touch me. What happened? Who did this? Mugged, I lie, but the word tastes wrong. 2 guys. Did you call the police? They took my phone. Sarah's expression says she doesn't believe me, but she doesn't argue about the hospital. She knows our finances. She knows the $53,000. Instead, she helps me out of my ruined clothes, steadies me in the shower, and bandages my lip. When I finally crawl into bed, she sits beside me in the dark. "I shouldn't have left you alone," she whispers. "Not your fault." But as I lie there, pain pulsing with every beat of my heart, I can't stop replaying it. This is a message for your master. From the shattered fangs. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mugging. This was politics. And I was the message. Sleep is a fractured, painful thing. When my alarm rings at 5:00 a.m., I lie there, staring at the ceiling, calculating. Missing 1 day means I'm short. Missing a week means I default. The debt doesn't care if I was beaten half to death. I drag myself upright, fighting back a whimper. The mirror is worse. The swelling has traveled. My face is a monstrous mask. Makeup becomes war paint. I layer concealer, thick and chalky. It does nothing for the swelling, but it dulls the violent purple. I pull on a long-sleeved shirt, the highest-necked one I own, to hide the bruises on my arms. When I emerge, Sarah is in the kitchen. She takes one look at me and her face crumples. "Don't," I say, my voice hoarse. "I'm going to work." "Ilara, you can't. You can barely stand." "I can stand fine." A lie. Every breath is fire. "And I need the money." "1 day won't—" "Yes, it will. The payment is due in a week. I'm already short." We both know the math. She says nothing, her eyes filling with tears. The Valerius estate looks the same, dark and brooding, utterly indifferent to my suffering. Sarah walks me to the service entrance, then heads to the kitchens. I make it through the morning on pure adrenaline and terror. Dusting. Polishing silver. I move slowly, methodically, avoiding every reflective surface. I avoid the other staff, hiding in linen closets, taking the back stairs. Every step sends agony through my side. Just after noon, I am assigned the one place I dread. The master's study. It's on the 3rd floor, a place I am normally forbidden to go. I climb the stairs, my hand gripping the rail. I knock twice. Silence. I let myself in. The room is dark, curtains drawn against the day. It smells of old paper, cedar, and something metallic and cold, like winter. His desk is a vast expanse of polished mahogany. I'm wiping down the windowsill, my back to the door, when I hear it. Not a footstep. The air changes. It grows heavy, cold. My heart hammers. Rabbit-quick panic. I turn. He is there. Lord Cassian Valerius. He is standing in the doorway, not in shadow, but in the dim light of the hall. I had imagined a monster, a creature of fangs and claws. I was wrong. He is tall, impossibly still, dressed in a black suit tailored so perfectly it seems part of him. His skin is pale, like marble. His hair is midnight black, and his eyes are the color of old silver. He is terrifyingly, inhumanly beautiful, and those silver eyes are fixed directly on me, not through me, on me. "My apologies, Lord Valerius," my voice trembles. I was told to clean. I can come back." "What happened to your face?" His voice. It isn't loud. It's a low, smooth vibration that I feel in my bones, not my ears. He hasn't moved. I fell, my lord." The lie I practiced. On the streetcar steps. They were slippery from the rain. He doesn't respond. He just watches me with that unnatural stillness. Then he steps into the room. The door clicks shut behind him. the sound echoing like a gunshot. Look at me. It is not a request. I obey, lifting my chin, letting him see the full, grotesque ruin of my face. His expression doesn't change. Not a flicker of pity or surprise, but a muscle in his jaw tightens. He crosses the room in 2 silent, fluid movements. Suddenly, he is close. Too close. I can smell the winter on him. Tell me again how you fell. The stairs were wet. I lost my footing. Which side did you fall on? The question confuses me. What? Left or right? Which side hit the stairs? My mind scrambles. Left, I think. You think. He circles me slowly, like a predator. I fight the urge to flinch. You are favoring your left side. You breathe shallowly to protect your ribs. So you fell on your left, hit your left eye, split your lip, and damaged your left ribs. A very consistent fall. He stops in front of me again. Show me your arms. My lord. Show me. The command is absolute. My hands are shaking so hard I can barely function. I push up the right sleeve, scrapes from the pavement. The other one. I hesitate. My body is screaming no, but his silver eyes hold me, and I find I cannot disobey. I slowly push up the sleeve of my left arm. The bruises are stark against my pale skin, perfect thumb-shaped marks, and the dark, violent imprints of fingers that circled my bicep. Unmistakable. He stares at the marks for a long, silent moment. The temperature in the room drops. I can see my breath misting in the air. A glass of water on his desk suddenly frosts over. When he finally speaks, his voice is a whisper that cuts deeper than any scream I have ever heard. Who did this? To you? I break. The terror of the night before, the pain, the humiliation, it all comes flooding out. I was walking to the streetcar. Two vampires. They saw the crest. They called themselves the Shattered Fangs. I'm sobbing now, the tears stinging my split lip. They said it was a message. For you. He closes his eyes. For a second, he is completely still. When he opens them, the silver is gone, replaced by a terrifying, bottomless black. A message. He says the word as if tasting it. Damien. He doesn't shout. He breathes the name. And from the deepest shadows in the corner of the room, another man emerges, as if stepping out of the wall itself. He is scarred, pale, and radiates menace. My lord? Cassian's gaze never leaves my face. The Shattered Fangs. They put their hands on one of my household. They sent a message. Damien looks at me, at my face, at the bruises on my arm. His own expression hardens into granite. Who? I don't know their names. I stammer. One was tall, with greasy hair. It does not matter, Cassian interrupts. His voice is lethally soft. Find them. Find every member of that sewer scum coven in this city. Find everyone who knew. Find everyone who watched. I want them, in the courtyard, before midnight. And the message, my lord? Damien asks. The message, Cassian says, finally looking away from me and to his lieutenant, is that I am sending one back. Damien bows. It will be done. And he is gone, dissolving back into the shadow. I am alone with him again, shaking so hard I can barely stand. My ribs are screaming. Mr. Valerius, please, I whisper. I don't want any more trouble. I need this job. Your job is the least of your concerns. He reaches out, and I flinch, but his hand stops, hovering near my face. His fingers are long, pale, his nails perfectly manicured. He gently, so gently it's almost imperceptible, brushes a tear from my unbruised cheek with his thumb. His skin is impossibly, shockingly cold, like marble. "You are not invisible, Ilara," he whispers, and the sound of my name on his tongue is the most terrifying thing I have ever heard. "You have never been. You work in my home. You are under my protection, and they will learn what happens when they touch what is mine." The world tilted. My ribs screamed, and the black-spotted darkness threatened to pull me under. Cassian's cold hand was suddenly on my arm, his grip like a steel band, steadying me. "You are in pain," he stated. I couldn't speak, could only nod, chattering from shock and the unnatural cold that radiated from him. I have to find Sarah. I have to go home. You will not be leaving this house." His voice was flat, final. "The time for you to be a servant is over. You are now a guest, and a liability, one I must contain." "But my sister—" "Your sister will be brought to you. You will not set foot outside these walls until I have dealt with Marcus." He used the name my attacker had shouted, "Leader of the Shattered Fangs." He tugged gently on my arm. "Come." He led me from the study, his feet making no sound on the marble. He was forcing himself to move at my slow, agonizing pace, and I could feel the impatience rolling off him. He didn't speak again until we reached the second floor, a wing of the house I had never been permitted to clean. He opened a set of double doors, revealing a suite larger than my apartment. "You will stay here," he commanded. My clothes, they will be burned. Anything you require will be provided." As if summoned, a man I didn't recognize stepped into the room. He was older, with silver hair and clinical eyes, carrying a black leather bag. "Dr. Eris," Cassian said. "She has 2, possibly 3 fractured ribs, significant bruising. A split lip, see to it." The doctor nodded, his gaze on me. "Sit on the bed, please." I did, flinching. Cassian did not leave. He stood by the fireplace, a statue carved from shadow, watching. The doctor was gentle, but his hands were as cold as his master's. He carefully examined my face, my arms, and then had me lift my shirt. "Significant soft tissue damage, my lord," Eris said, his voice a monotone. 2 confirmed fractures to the ribs, not displaced. They will heal, given time. He opened his bag and produced a small, dark blue vial. "Drink this." "What is it?" I whispered. "It will manage the pain," Cassian's voice vibrated from across the room, "and accelerate the healing. A specialty of the doctor's. Drink it." I obeyed. The liquid was thick, tasting of herbs and iron. It was warm, and within a minute, the sharp, knife-like agony in my ribs dissolved into a dull, distant throb. The world stopped spinning. "Rest," Dr. Eris said. He bowed to Cassian and left. The silence was heavy. "You knew my name," I said, the words thick. "I know the name of everyone who sleeps under my roof, Ilara. You knew about my mother's debt. I make it my business to know what binds people to me. Fear, greed, or $53,000 of medical debt. Your loyalty, born of desperation, has been noted. It is why you were targeted. They see integrity as a weakness to be exploited." A soft, terrified knock came. Sarah rushed in, her face pale. "Ilara, they said—" She stopped dead when she saw Lord Valerius. "My lord, I'm sorry." "Your sister will be staying here," Cassian said. "She is under my protection, which means she is a target. You will stay here with her. You will both be my guests until this threat is neutralized. Am I understood?" Sarah just stared, then rushed to my side, her eyes filling with tears as she saw my face. "See that she eats," Cassian said. "Both of you." He turned and was gone. He was just gone. He talked to you? Sarah whispered. It's a long story, Sarah. I laid my head back, exhaustion pulling me down. I woke in blackness. Sarah's soft breathing came from a nearby cot. The pain-dulling potion had worn off, and my ribs ached. A noise had woken me. A low, wet sound. A thud. My heart hammered. I should stay in bed. But I was drawn to it. I slid from the bed. My suite had a balcony overlooking the central courtyard. I crept to the window, pushing aside the curtain. The courtyard below was lit by flickering gas lamps. Damien stood in the center, and kneeling before him, the two men from the alley. They were bound, matted with blood. Cassian was there. He was dressed in a simple black shirt and trousers, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked like an executioner. Please, Lord Valerius, mercy. The first man, the one who had hit me, was sobbing. We didn't know. It was just a message from Marcus. He said you were getting soft, that you cared more for the humans than your own kind. Cassian circled them, slow and deliberate. A message. His voice was perfectly calm, but it carried in the cold night air. You put your hands on a human, an innocent, under my protection. You did so to prove my weakness. He stopped, crouching. Her name is Ilara. She is 24. She works here to pay her dead mother's medical bills. She has never harmed a soul. I froze. My hand flew to my mouth. He knew. He knew everything. And you? Cassian's voice dropped to a whisper. You broke her ribs. You split her lip. You put your hands on her. For politics. He stood. By midnight, every man in the city feared for his life. He mused. Damien. My lord? Did you find everyone? We did, my lord. Every member of the Shattered Fangs Coven in this city. And they are being dealt with across the city, as you commanded. The city. He wasn't just punishing these two, he was purging. The title was his. But these two, Damien continued, are the ones who touched her. Good. Cassian looked down at them. My weakness is not in hiring humans. It is in underestimating the cruelty of my own kind. You did not just send a message to me. You sent one to her, that she is a pawn. He looked up. His silver eyes, glowing in the dark, found me in the window. He looked right at me. He held my gaze. The message, he said, loud enough for me to hear, is that I am sending one back. He gave a single sharp nod to Damien. He didn't look away from me. He made me watch. I was paralyzed. Damien didn't pull a weapon. The shadows in the corners of the courtyard, they detached themselves from the walls. They grew, twisted, like living things. They enveloped the two men. There was no scream, just a choked gurgle, a crunch of bone, and silence. The shadows receded, leaving the stone courtyard empty. Perfectly, unnaturally clean. I stumbled back, my stomach heaving. I should have been sick. I was, but underneath the horror, a colder, darker feeling bloomed. Relief. Vengeance. The fact that I felt it terrified me. I scrambled back into bed, shaking violently. He came to me the next evening. Sarah was in the room, but Cassian entered and simply looked at her. Leave us. Sarah glanced at me and fled. He stood by the window I had looked through last night. How do you feel? He asked. My ribs, they're better. The potion. I know what you saw last night. You knew I was watching. I did. You should not have. But it is done. The immediate threat is handled. You killed them, I whispered. Yes. No remorse. They forfeited their lives when they chose to attack an innocent under my banner. My rule exists on a simple promise, Ilara. Protection for those who are loyal. Order. They brought disorder. They paid the price. He turned. This is my world. It is brutal. It is not human. Why? I asked. Why me? I'm just a cleaner. You've risked a war. For me. He moved closer, stopping at the foot of my bed. You were never just a cleaner. I told you, I see things. I have watched you for 8 months. I saw you give your lunch to another servant. I saw you in the library, painstakingly fixing a broken book. I see the way you work to honor a debt that should have broken you. My throat was tight. He had seen all that. My invisibility was a lie. You have integrity, he said, the word sounding strange in his mouth. It is a quality I had forgotten existed. It is rare. He was closer now, sitting on the edge of the bed. And you are not afraid of me. Not truly. You are terrified, but you are not afraid. I am, I breathed. No. His silver eyes searched my face. You are brave, and that makes you interesting. He reached out, his cold thumb tracing my unbruised cheek, then my jawline. Such courage, he whispered, in such a fragile frame. His gaze dropped to my split lip, now almost healed. They will never harm you again. He leaned in. I knew I should pull away. This was my master, a killer, a monster. But I was frozen, not by fear, but by something else. His lips were not soft. They were impossibly smooth and cold, like polished marble. It was not a passionate, fiery kiss. It was questioning, gentle and brief, a simple press of his mouth to mine. It sent a jolt of pure, cold electricity through my body. He pulled back. His control was perfect, but I saw something in his eyes, a flicker of something ancient and hungry, held back with iron will. Heal, Elara, he whispered. We will speak more when you are strong. And he was gone. A day later, I was strong enough to walk in the suite's private garden. I was tracing a leaf when a voice spoke from behind me. He's different with you. I jumped. Damien stood there, leaning against the stone wall. You're healing well, he observed. The master's attention is potent. He's been kind, I said. Damien almost laughed. He is not kind. He is protective. There is a difference. He stepped closer, his scarred face serious. I have served him for 247 years. I have never seen him like this, never seen him show such sustained interest in a human. What's your point? My point is that the Shattered Fangs are not gone. The rabble in this city are dead, yes, but Marcus, their leader, is still out there. He attacked you to prove the master was weak. Now, he will see you not as a weakness, but as a weapon, a lever. The one thing in this world that can be used to break him. The cold reality crashed in. The master's coldness, his distance, has been his armor for 5 centuries, Elara. You are melting it. You've made him care. And you will be the one who gets burned. Be careful, little mouse. You're no longer invisible. You're a target. He bowed, and just like his master, he turned and was gone, leaving me alone in the garden, realizing that my life, which I had fought so hard to keep simple, had just become the most complicated thing in the world. The days that followed were a surreal dream. I was no longer a servant, but a guest in a gilded cage. Sarah, pale and quiet, stayed with me. We ate food served on porcelain we used to be terrified of breaking. We were prisoners, protected for our own safety. Damien was a constant shadow outside our door, a reminder that Marcus, leader of the Shattered Fangs, was still out there. Cassian visited every evening, at the exact moment the sun vanished. He would bring me old books of poetry from his library, or a small, blooming jasmine plant. He was hesitant. For a being of such terrifying power, he seemed almost awkward. He would sit across from me, his silver eyes watching, as if trying to relearn a language he hadn't spoken in centuries. "The doctor says your ribs are mending," he said one night. "Yes, the potion. It's amazing." "It is a small thing." He looked at my hands. "Sarah tells me you miss your life, your apartment." "I miss the freedom to walk, to feel the sun. This is your home now, Ilara, until he is found." His voice was flat. The silence from Marcus was a coiled snake, and it was making him nervous. Our strange, fragile intimacy grew. He would tell me stories of old New Orleans, of the loneliness of centuries. I told him about my mother, about the suffocating weight of the debt. He listened with an intensity that was more intimate than any touch. But Sarah was wilting. She missed her friends. She missed her boyfriend, Mark. "He's probably worried sick," she fretted one afternoon. "His texts have been weird, scared." "Sarah, you can't contact him," I warned, Damien's words echoing in my head. "It's not safe." "You're right," she said, too quickly. "I know." The next day, she was gone. I found the note on her pillow. My blood ran colder than Cassian's skin. "Ilara, Mark is in trouble. He needs me. He said the Shattered Fangs have him. He's at the old St. Jude's Cathedral by the river. He said to come alone. Don't tell the master. Please, Ilara. They'll kill him. I have to go." I screamed. Damien was in the room before I had taken a breath. I just held out the shaking note. He read it, his face turning to granite. A trap. Obvious. She's a fool. "We have to save her," I cried, grabbing my shoes. "You," he said, grabbing my arm, "are going nowhere. She's my sister. She is the bait." The air in the room dropped 20 degrees. The fireplace extinguished, its flames snuffed out. Cassian was there. He stood in the center of the room, the note already in his hand. He read it. He didn't speak. But the shadows in the room deepened, stretching and pulling toward him. This was not cold anger. This was a monstrous rage that threatened to tear the world apart. "He used her," he whispered. His voice was no longer human. It was a layered, guttural sound. "He used her to get to you." "We have to go," I pleaded, tears streaming down my face. "Please, Cassian, he'll kill her." "He will," Cassian agreed. "That is the point." He looked at Damien. "Assemble the team. Lock down the estate. Ilara stays here." "No!" I shouted, stunning myself. I ran to him, grabbing his sleeve. "I'm going. She's my sister. He wants me, right? You can trade me." Cassian looked down at my hand on his arm. He slowly, almost gently, covered it with his. "I do not trade what is mine." He looked at my face, at the sheer, desperate terror. He saw the one thing that could move him. He exhaled. The shadows receded. The man was back. "Damien," he said, "you will stay here. Protect this house." "My lord?" Damien looked shocked. "You cannot go alone. It is a trap." "Of course it is." Cassian brushed my hair back. "He wants to prove I am weak. He will not get me. He will get the king. She is correct. She is the only one who can make the trade." He looked at me. "You will do exactly as I say. Do you understand?" "Yes," I breathed. The old St. Jude's Cathedral was a ruin. One moment we were in the garden, and the next we were standing in the shadows across the street, the air rushing past in a blur. "He is here," Cassian whispered, "and he is not alone. But he is arrogant." He walked across the street, not hiding. I scurried behind him. The cathedral was a vast, dark space, lit by candles. In the center, tied to a pillar, was Sarah. She was gagged, her eyes wide with terror. "Sarah!" I screamed. "Elara, stop!" Cassian commanded. A figure stepped out. Marcus. He was tall, blond, and his smile was a predator's. He held a long silver knife to Sarah's throat. "The little mouse arrives," he purred, "and she brings the Raven King." He looked at Cassian. "So, it's true. 5 centuries of power, undone by a pretty little warm-blooded thing." "Release the girl," Cassian said. His voice was too calm. "No, I think not. This is a lesson, old man. You purged my followers. You thought you could rule and keep your pets? No. You have to choose." "There is no choice here," Cassian said. "You have lost." "Have I?" Marcus smiled. He snapped his fingers. From the balconies, a dozen vampires emerged. "You are outnumbered, my lord," Marcus sneered. "And—" He kicked a crate filled with explosives. "This place is packed with C4. And this." He held up a detonator. "Here is your choice," Marcus said. "You can be the monster. Unleash your shadows. Try to kill us all. But the moment you do, I press this button. The humans, they're so fragile. They won't survive the blast. Your Elara and her sister will be ash. Or," he drew his own blade, "you can fight me. Just you. Just me. Like a man. Save your pets. But I wonder, are you still fast enough, old man? Or has she made you soft?" This was it. I saw the struggle in Cassian. I saw the monster begging to be released, to tear them all to dust. It would be easy. But Sarah and I would die. "Cassian, no," I whispered. "Save yourself." Cassian looked at me. His silver eyes were filled with a profound, ancient sadness. He made his choice. He unbuttoned his suit jacket and laid it on a broken pew. "I will fight you," Cassian said. Damien appeared in the doorway. "My lord, no." "Damien," Cassian said, not turning. "You will not interfere. This is a matter of honor." Marcus looked delighted. "Honor! Soft!" Marcus lunged. He was fast. But Cassian was there. He moved like liquid shadow, catching Marcus's wrist, the silver knife stopping an inch from his chest. "You mistake. Control." "For softness," Cassian whispered. It was not a fight. It was an execution. Cassian moved with terrifying precision, breaking Marcus's wrist, then his arm, then his knee. Marcus screamed, but he was a trapped animal. As Cassian moved in, Marcus lunged, not for Cassian, but for the detonator he dropped. "If I die, we all die," he shrieked. Cassian couldn't stop him. "No!" I screamed, and I threw a heavy, fallen candelabra at Marcus's hand. It struck his arm, sending the detonator flying. It bought Cassian 1 second, but it put me in the line of fire. One of the vampires on the balcony, seeing his master fall, broke the rules. He pulled a gun. "Elara, down!" Cassian roared. He was in front of me, a shield. I heard the crack of the gun. I saw him flinch. A dark stain appeared on his white shirt. Wood. The bullet was wooden. He staggered. A pained, inhuman sound ripped from his throat. "Master!" Damien roared. The spell was broken. Cassian fell to one knee. The shadows from the walls erupted. They were not precise this time. They were blades of pure night, a vortex of darkness. The vampires on the balcony were just gone. The shadows converged on Marcus. "No, please. Mercy." The shadows stopped, swirling around Cassian as he stood, pulling the wooden slug from his shoulder with a pop. He looked at the last, terrified vampire. "She asked for mercy," Cassian said, his voice cold. "For you. She, a human, begged for your worthless life, and you shot her." He dropped the slug. "There is no mercy for you." He didn't need the shadows. He was in front of Marcus in a heartbeat. And it was finished. Damien cut Sarah free. She ran to me, sobbing, and we clung to each other. I looked at Cassian. He was clutching his shoulder, his blood black in the candlelight. He had chosen to be vulnerable, and he had been hurt. For me. Back at the estate, Dr. Aris tended to Cassian's wound. It was healing, but it had been serious. I sat by the fire, Sarah asleep in the other room, shaking. When the doctor left, Cassian walked to me. He held out a piece of paper, a bank statement, a wire transfer confirmation, $53,000, paid in full. I don't understand, I whispered. I do not abide debts in my household, he said. You are free, Alara. The threat is gone. You and Sarah can leave. You are safe. I looked at the paper. The number that had defined my life, gone. I should have felt joy. I felt empty. You want me to leave? I want you to be safe, he said. Turning to the window. Damien was right. I made you a target. My world. It is not for you. I stood. I walked to him, to this ancient, powerful, lonely creature, and I touched his arm, right where he had been shot. You're right, I said, my voice quiet. Damien was right. I am your weakness, but I'm also your strength. He turned, his silver eyes wide, confused. You didn't choose to be a monster tonight, Cassian. You could have. You could have leveled that building, but you chose to fight like a man. You chose to be vulnerable, to protect me and Sarah. You chose precision over power. You chose to save, not just to win. I touched his face, my hand warm against his cold skin. That, I whispered, is not weakness. That is strength. I realized then the lesson of my own story. True power wasn't in immortality, or fangs, or shadows. It wasn't in being the monster that everyone feared. It was in the small, human things, the integrity to honor a debt, the compassion of a kind word, the courage to stand up for another. These were the things I had, and these were the things that had reached a heart that hadn't beaten in 500 years. My small, human kindness had inspired a monster to be a man. I'm not leaving, I said. Not unless you make me. He stared, and for the first time I saw the inhuman mask crack. I saw the ancient, lonely man behind it. He pulled me to him, his uninjured arm wrapping around my waist, and buried his face in my hair. His body was cold, but I had never felt warmer. They will never stop coming for me, Alara, he whispered, his voice raw. Then they'll have to come through me, too, I said, holding him back. We stood there, a forgotten human and an ancient king, watching the first hint of dawn, a new, dangerous day breaking over the city we had, in our own strange way, saved together.